This is the ATI Podcast.
Everybody, and welcome back to the ATI Podcast for episode 50. Barrett here with you, Josh Welch back on the call.
Hey.
And our boy, Brandon, Mr. Tom Tickle, if you're watching us live on Twitch tonight. How you doing, Tommy Tickle?
I'm doing real good. Right before I joined in, got in right at 7. There was a fight like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert going on in my butthole, so I had to release the hounds.
I hear you, man. You got to get rid of them sometimes.
We just had a taco night. I'm expecting the same thing post-show for sure.
You would think that wouldn't be an issue whenever you're eating tomato soup and grilled cheese for dinner. As being,
but you had a Matt Gaetz cocked up in there sideways?
Well, Matt Gaetz running away from all of his legal troubles.
Yeah, I got
you. He had to evacuate quick.
I got you.
Fantastic.
Speaking of Matt Gaetz, we got a new speaker, so.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, I don't know if it's a good speaker, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, well. You mean that cuck that's up there now that's basically did all the bidding for Matt Gaetz? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Republican cuck?
Yeah.
That should make
12-time loser.
That should make you feel even better knowing that Matt Gaetz, a person accused of human trafficking and fucking a 17-year-old, has now gotten his way with the cuck of a House Speaker.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I know.
It's all bad.
This is America.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin McCarthy, if you're listening, I just want you to know Nancy Pelosi never lost a vote for House Speaker. I hope that rubs in.
I mean,
the one thing I will tell you
is going on in that party. You know, Brandon. This is what Brandon's joke alluded to. If you didn't catch it, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert were like near fisticuffs in the women's bathroom at the Capitol over all this shit. Yeah. And like they're just like yelling shit at each other. At some point, somebody yelled something like, "Don't be ugly." That's like, what the fuck? Like now you're concerned about not being ugly.
Now we care.
What's even funnier is the fact that it happened on January 6th. So there was still a fight at the Capitol on January 6th.
Yes, absolutely.
Happy anniversary, America.
Irony thick. Boy, that's a thick bar.
Don't be ugly.
Yeah.
We're supposed to hang Pelosi. We're not supposed to go at each other's ovaries that the man has control over.
I feel like I'm the fly on the wall in the women's bathroom now.
Yeah.
I would love
I would love to for various other reasons. More of a Chuck Berry reason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Except for the maw that is Marjorie Taylor Greene's vagina. I'm sure as soon as that she goes to go take a piss,
hello.
Vagina elongates into this fucking massive, like, skin tag mass and just latches onto the toilet. I'm going to go piss.
Absolutely.
All right, so guys, this week we are bringing you our 5 favorite TV shows / series, which is weird. Like when I was writing this stuff out, I just thought TV shows, but technically that term doesn't apply anymore with all the on-demand services that are out there and some of the exclusive stream rights they get with shows, and shows are literally produced with Netflix money or HBO Max money or whatever the case is. So
streaming series, is that a better?
Series is the other thing. So and that's how they recognize it over in the UK for our UK listeners too. It's always series rather than seasons.
I got you.
We look at it. So we're going to do our top 5 shows of the year. We're going to mix in, like we do, the honorable mentions, male and female performances of the year, as well as our disappointment in TV and what we're looking forward to this year in 2023, still early in the year on this day in January. So, guys, you ready to get into it?
Let's do it. I'm down.
Bring it down.
Bring it down.
All right, Josh, what do you have coming in at number 5 on your list?
All right, number 5, I went with the Wednesday.
Okay.
And also, we'll get into this later with the female performance stuff. But anyway, Jenna Ortega absolutely killed it. Felt like a very nostalgic Tim Burton style series, and he hasn't really had free creative reign on a series like that. And he's really got away from Disney. I read that, I forgot what article it was. There was an article where he talked about he got away from Disney and now he's doing his own thing again. And it took me back to like Beetlejuice days, stuff like that. It felt really good. Without ruining too much of the story, there was monsters and, I was really concerned the first couple episodes into the show. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be for me, like with Luis Guzman as, as Gomez Adams and stuff. But they really did a really good job of like when they did flashback in time with the younger actor, they made it fit. So, I thought the writing was good. The story was good. I thought the effects were good. The practical effects, they did use a lot of, CGI and added effects and stuff, but it all looked good and, felt Burton-y. So, took me back to being a kid almost,
There was something like, I guess they were getting some casting hate with Luis Guzman as
Gomez.
Yeah. But if you actually look at the original caricature of Gomez,
right,
they actually look like each other, very similar.
Right, yeah. And the animated Addams Family that they did, that was supposed to be they designed them to look like the actual characters are supposed to.
Right.
So and in that one, what's his name? Oscar Isaac plays Gomez in that one, and he does fantastic as Gomez. But he looks great, and it fits, his voice fits the character. So I'm into the Addams Family stuff, always have been, and I'm a really big Tim Burton fan, so that's why it made my top
Now, does
5.
he actually direct the episodes?
I don't know.
He directs 2 or 3 of them.
Probably like the pilot and the finisher.
Actually, they might have divided it up because I think it's 12 episodes. I think it's 4, 4, and 4.
They had other. Yeah, but he was a part of the whole writing and the whole planning and everything for the show. Yeah. So it really feels like he did play a role in the series.
Oh, for sure.
So,
First episode, it sold me on it. Going back to what you guys were saying about Disney and him doing work for them. I mean, I don't think creatively he was feeling Tim Burton at all. So he was just filling these fucking movies out. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and fucking Alice in Wonderland. There was a second Alice in Wonderland. It's almost like they were just poking fun at him, like this is what you can do.
Right.
But I do agree with Josh. I think that the episodes, especially that he directed, were very fleshed out. Felt very much like old Tim Burton.
It was great.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's getting a bit of a cult phenomenon with like kind of certain scenes and music that's being used in the show. So there's like the dance going around, the Jenna Ortega dance, I guess at a school dance that she does.
And did you know she actually is the one that came up with that? Wow. They did an interview and she actually orchestrated that whole dance. She said she looked
everything.
Yeah, she choreographed the whole thing. She said she was like looking up like 90s goth dancing and different stuff and trying to incorporate a bunch of different styles into it. Wow. So good on her, man. That was that scene was a genius. So I loved that scene. It was so good.
And you might recognize from our movie talk on the last episode, Jenna Ortega was an X as well.
Yeah.
And the new Scream of 2020.
Yeah, she blew me away as Wednesday, man. She was fantastic. So
yeah, she's dope. She's gonna be around for a while.
Brandon, what do you got coming in at number 5 on your list, sir?
Okay, number 5. Let's see here. I just got stuck on Masangoro right there. Number 5 for me is going to be Sandman. For me, whenever you have been let down in the past by, even though it wasn't terrible, been let down in the past by comic book TV shows that meant something to you at some point in your life, this one actually lived up to it. And it felt like I could remember certain like issues of Sandman or certain scenes of Sandman that were happening right in front of me. I was like, and visually it was stunning. I think that me personally, they nailed Sandman on the fucking head. I don't know if anybody could do that better. Even though it is such a flat character, like his mannerisms and everything.
Right, he has to be emotionless largely.
Yeah, I think that this kid hit it on the head. You can't really do much better than that. And I'm always looking to see something that he's willing to do after American Gods. The first 2 seasons, phenomenal. The 3rd season's dog shit. So, yeah, I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the Sandman adaptation as well. And the lead actor who played Sandman himself was incredible. Whenever I was watching the trailers, it looks like the opening of Sandman in the comic, what actually happens, where they're trapping him and in that cult. And, I was like, okay, well, this looks to be faithful. You never know with comic book adaptations, like Brandon mentioned. There were some that started off strong and petered out, like that looked promising. Like Preacher comes to mind immediately for me. At first it was pretty decent, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. Walking Dead's another example. That pilot episode was as strong of any comic book adaptation thing that I had seen up to that point. I felt like it was pretty, true to the comics. And what changes there were very minimal. But yeah, Sandman is one that definitely lived up to it. And what I really appreciated is Sandman as a series goes off on these side stories randomly, and it almost throws you for a loop whenever you're first reading it. There's a whole perspective that's like a cat story from the cat's perspective, right. And you feel like, did I just fucking take acid? Am I reading a different comic now? Like, what's happening right now? And that and there's a charm to that as well. And I was, actually just how well the series did too. I think that Neil Gaiman was doing a interview on Mark Maron's podcast, and he was talking about where he really saw Sandman take that next level and why they were able to run with the series as long as they were able to in the comics. And that was, guys were getting it, reading it. Eventually, maybe they were beyond reading comics at that time and it'd be around, but they'd recommend it to their girlfriends.
Yeah.
And then the girlfriends started getting hooked into Sandman specifically. So that's what actually kind of drove it. So Neil Gaiman was talking about it at these conventions that he goes to, and he was going to him at this time in promotion of Sandman, the TV series. He was seeing a lot of younger girls coming in, and he was, just asking around, asking the fans just to get more information, doing his market research at the ground level. And turns out that was the same phenomenon that was going on back then. Boyfriends were telling girlfriends about it, and the girlfriends were getting more enamored with it because Sandman is a character, kind of a goth figure who's inspired by a lot of people. He's supposed to be a sexy dude, like a metrosexual dude, so that it brings those folks in, but there's substance. It's not all eye candy.
Yeah, it's definitely not all eye candy. And I think that that's the thing, bringing in the mythos and hitting it hard to where it's not trying to overcomplicate things, but also keep it to where it is that mysterious Sandman that we all know and love. I think they really got a good mesh of both sides, where it was where some just fall flat on their face.
Yeah, and they did a really good job of showing the ranges of the character as well, because we talked about earlier, he's kind of a monotone guy, kind of a flat character, but the emotion is in the eyes that you see in the acting. This actor nailed that for sure. Mm-hmm. And there's just such a complexity to the character that you get to see develop as well, where you learn to discover that he had a prior lover, and kind of how vengeful he used to be, and there's just such a deep backstory that they haven't even delved into. So there's so much rich material going forward, because that series barely covered the first trade that's out there.
And I know Netflix is about it because they've already greenlighted more.
Yeah.
So
I know that the thing for me that sold me on the whole thing, one of the main episodes, is the Immortal. I keeps on coming back over and over again, and he realizes, like a lot of, not that it hasn't been done before, like a lot of people that think that being immortal is wonderful. comes to understand that it's not so great. And it's, at first, the Sandman is definitely toying with him. It's definitely a hobby of his.
Right.
But it shows like the neutral behavior of Sandman as well. He's not pure good, and you can just tell he's an entity as opposed to good side, bad side.
Right.
He exists on this plane, and also one of the best fucking devils I've ever met. Ever.
Oh yeah.
Brienne
Gwendolyn Christie. Yeah.
She is wonderful as Lucifer. Yeah. I think the characters really make this whole entire story. He's just kind of there as something to hold on to. But the surrounding characters as well are really what develop the world in which they live.
Definitely. And I know that there was a little bit of hubbub too about Satan being cast as a female, but Neil Gaiman created Satan as an asexual character in the comics, as it was anyways. And if anything, it had more feminine qualities. So, guys, before you get mad, let's listen to what Neil, the guy who created it, what his intentions were.
Yeah. Real quick, if you're arguing about that, then join the fucking Proud Boys so we know who the fuck you are.
Right.
Yeah,
no shit.
Sure.
Get the fuck over it, you little pussies. If you have no creative bone in your body and all day you just sit there, and this is including if you're fucking listening now, you're a fucking asshole. Right?
Right.
Just get the fuck over yourself.
Right.
100% agree. All right, I'm going to come in with my number 5 now.
Hit us hard.
And that is Under the Banner of Heaven.
Yes.
Does anybody else have this on their list
I do not.
tonight?
I do not.
Okay, so the reason I asked that, you guys are going to hear me throughout the episode ask that question. What we're going to do is reserve discussing whatever that pick is toward the end whenever somebody has it higher up on their list. So we can just kind of get in a deep dive conversation on that episode specifically. So, or that series, excuse me. So my number 5, Under the Banner of Heaven. It aired originally starting in April of 2022. So last year for FX. It's got an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.5 on IMDb. 81% of Google users liked it. It stars Andrew Garfield, Sam Worthington, Roy Culkin, and Wyatt Russell. So great acting cast. And it's based off of a book called Under the Banner of Heaven, A Story of Violent Faith. It's a nonfiction book authored by John Crocker, and it's about a detective, Jeb, J-E-B, Pyrie. He investigates the murders of Brenda Wright Lafferty and her baby daughter in a suburb of Salt Lake City. And then he goes to uncover buried truths about the origins of LDS simultaneously, the religion, and violent consequences of start to unwind his faith. So LDS, of course, is Latter-day Saints Mormons. And obviously with the setting in Salt Lake Valley, that's where most of the Mormons ended up settling whenever they were moving west away from religious persecution that they were starting to have and set up roots. And it really explores every dark corner of the LDS faith specifically, starting with its very sketchy creation beginnings and stories, and how they really, the biggest thing to take away from LDS, at least for me, is their disrespect of women. They treat them like property, not as human beings or people of with their own emotions and rights. They have a very archaic view of women, and not only is that to be added to, we'll put the salt in the wound here too. And you as a man, if you practice the polygamy side of things, you get to have multiple wives too. Now I know that there's 2 different branches. That some of the heads of church and state don't agree with the multiple wives scenario, but it's still a thing in LDS as well.
Right.
But because buried it too.
Yeah.
To where once it was acceptable, another it was never acceptable. It was never an actual thing.
Yeah. And Brigham Young, of course, ultimately started with Joseph Smith, and Brigham Young was kind of a disciple of his. This is why you have BYU as a university, Brigham Young University. It's a Mormon faith. And Brigham Young's where some of the original teachings from Joseph Smith he started to break off from. And Joseph Smith, I mean, I think it's pretty well publicized. He was a child molester, in my opinion, sodomist, sexual assault offender, because I know, like, as he went to go on and have other wives and things, some of those were, and culturally at the time, I guess it was a little bit more less frowned upon, underage girls, to put it simply.
Yeah.
And throughout the LDS faith, that was something at times that would be controversial, because like young girls, it's such a closed off community. Like young girls would grow up to be of age or close to of age, and men would start marrying those,
grooming them for marriage,
grooming them
right
before they even had a fully developed brain. So, and then it explores some of that in this show. That's the reason I bring all that up.
Right.
And yeah, it explores everything to just the sexism that they dealt with women in everyday life. And, it's just a really good series overall. And Andrew Garfield's acting, and I forget, there's a Native American fellow that plays his partner in it. I forget the actor's name, but he's incredible as well.
He is really
great. And they have just such great chemistry between the two of them. It jumps off the screen immediately in the show. And they are partners, and they're working on these investigations together. And their relationship starts to become deeper and more meaningful as well. And technically, Andrew Garfield is this guy's superior, and this guy's much older, this Native American fellow, but he gives him a lot of advice.
Right.
His name's Joe Birmingham. I think he was, honestly, for me, if there's a best supporting character element for all of this, it would be him. He was solid, man, and he was definitely the person to test that faith, and definitely the person that's like, he was there for him, but he's not going to feed him any bullshit.
I think I'm going to need a Lethal Weapon version with these two as the partners.
There you go, dude.
He plays the Danny Glover character. Yeah. Like, Brandon and I,
Andrew Garfield playing Danny Glover, okay? And
let's just put him in the new season of True Detective.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this before we got on the call today. Like, it really did feel like the closest thing in spirit to the flow and the things that would develop and everything, and how it climaxed and built the show throughout, and the anxieties throughout the show. It really felt like it should have been in that True Detective universe. Yeah. Like, this was, I really liked the third season of True Detective as well, but I still don't think any of them have captured that same spirit and magic they did with the first series.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
And that to me is the best. That is the best overall TV series that's come out in the last, 15 years or so, without question.
Hopefully they can do it with Jodie Foster again.
I'm hopeful. Yeah, I'm very hopeful that she's going to be involved in that. And I think they've released on their promo reels with Last of Us this week a little snippet of clips.
Oh, really?
New season.
I've yet to watch the pilot, so I'm really pumped to watch it. So.
Yeah, but Under the Banner to Heaven, you guys cannot go wrong with this. You will get hooked, believe me.
Yeah.
There's just so much relationships, interplays. And they do this unique thing as well through the show. I want to mention explicitly before I move on, that I haven't ever seen a TV show do, certainly, definitely not well, is they interlace historical, I would almost call them educational videos about, again, the history of the LDS faith. So, the first 10 minutes of the show, you might be seeing Andrew Garfield's character on screen, Jeb, and getting to know him and know that he's a family man and know that he's a Mormon and know that he's a detective, works at the police department. And then it'll cut to, like Joseph Smith writing his ideas for his church.
Yeah.
Under the tree with his girlfriend at the time, or his betrothed. And, it cuts in scenes of that here and there to parallel the story as it's being told too, for you to get key context with what's going on in present day and what the taboos were established all the way back then.
Right. That's
in the formation of the religion.
They did it correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it flowed perfect.
I don't know that I've ever seen, I've seen movies do that, but I have not seen a TV show.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a series do that on a show.
Yeah. So, it's a limited series. This is the season. There's not going to be any more. So if you're just looking for like a one good story, one season miniseries,
good binger.
Yeah, this is it. This is a good one, and I can't recommend it enough. So with that talk, I want to transition over to our male performances of the year that we have from TV series, and my nomination is Andrew Garfield for sure. Okay. And I'll just kind of stay on that with this show.
I think that's a great one, dude. I think that's a very solid pick.
You can actually not even audibly, which is sometimes the easiest aspect of acting, but physically in his acting.
Yeah.
you can see the progression in his character from the start. His sureness about things and in his faith at the beginning, and how that just deteriorates over time as he finds more and more dark history about the LDS faith, and parallel to that, more and more the dark things that present extremes of LDS are practicing, and in even his own church. You know, he and his wife had some issues with the church as well, and it all boiled down to the church didn't want the publicity and want LDS tied to the crimes that were being committed in this series. It was all of a political thing.
Right.
Just like all of the other fucking problems that we have in this fucking country.
Exactly.
Largely. It all boils back down to politics. Racism goes back to politics. You know, poverty goes back to politics. So this right here, religion, goes back to politics. And how much the LDS church, even at that time, this is set in the 80s, had control of everything. And Andrew Garfield's character, he shows the complexity of that. Not only the A to Z, his character, but the things that he's dealing with, the outside forces and the political forces that he's dealing with too. Like he just puts on a clinic. He's a fantastic actor. His mom has dementia in the series, I should mention too. And just how he turns everything off to serve her when he's in the presence of his mother. It's like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about the range of his acting in this show. So
a lot of emotion.
Definitely would recommend.
Absolutely.
Brandon, who would you have as your male actor of the year?
Male actor of the year is going to definitely go to Adam Scott for Severance.
Another good pick.
This is an Adam Scott TV show where you do see a lot of the reasons why people pick him for these for like comedic portions. This is mostly this is comedy.
He's playing it straight.
Of a different, this is comedy of a different kind. And to see him play it so straight and the dark moments that he has within the show you could feel it.
Right.
And I think the 99% of the reason why, I'll take that back. I'll say 50% of the reason, I'll take that back. 45% of the reasons why I felt anxiety about that show were because of him. The other 55%, I think Barrett knows. Patricia Arquette she's a fucking powerhouse. She was terrifying. But he just really conveys the turbulent time that he was going through in that moment and the revelations that he goes through and how he was essentially a pushover and just doing things day to day because he just wanted to forget.
Right.
And just seeing him flip from two different personalities pretty constantly.
Yeah. It's a good point.
It is just, and he's to play two different versions of the same character, I think is fucking batshit insane anyways.
Absolutely.
But, that goes to the concept of the story itself, but Adam Scott pulls it off. Well, and he's a grounded individual in this fucking crazy world. Doesn't want to be dealt with on one side. Doesn't want to deal with anything on one side, and then the other, he just wants to go about his day, get the shit done, do it for the betterment. It's pretty fascinating following Adam Scott this entire time, and finally getting to see these comedic actors in these roles that we all know that they can play, because comedians 9 times out of 10 at heart are dark as fuck.
Absolutely.
So, it's almost like a shoe-in for comedians, but just the way that he portrays himself is just, it's a beautiful watch.
Yeah.
I've yet to watch it, and it's definitely on my to-watch list. I've heard great things, and it's been in a lot of lists that I've looked at.
It's a good show. Back to Adam Scott, I pretty much just second everything that Brandon said. The only other thing I'll lean in a little bit too on is the duality of character that Brandon brings up. It's not so much that he is an entirely different person. He's two sides of the same coin. But you can tell the differences in character. I would say, the version of him that is the real, person that he is, he's probably a little bit more stronger and sure of himself versus the work version of himself. the work version of himself is a little bit more ambivalent, I would say. He's just kind of like there to do his work and have a good time and, be lighthearted. Whereas the real life version of him, there's tragedy that he's apparently endured. And that has made his character A, an alcoholic, and B, obviously a manic depressive, and C, you see all these other things that he has going on in the real world. Whenever they're at work, they're just focused on work. But then that starts to develop into the anxieties and issues that he has there. And the trajectories are very different. But you can definitely see the duality of character in his acting. So, yeah, good pick.
That's a good pick.
Who you got, Josh, for
All right.
male performance of the year in TV series?
I'm going to go with somebody that I wasn't super familiar with until I got to see him in this role, but I'm going to pick Paddy Considine.
Okay.
From House of the Dragon as Viserys Targaryen. I thought he blew me away. Matt Smith was a close second for me, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
As Daemon Targaryen, he was phenomenal, but I think Paddy won me over with the one scene where he, the doors open and he's walking in with his cane and he climbs in and takes the throne and then, his crown falls and then Daemon gives it to him. That whole scene was goosebumps the entire time, dude. To watch him, you get told early on in the show that there's something wrong with him, and to see it develop and him develop into that sickness and still have a solid character, you know what I mean? It was so impressive to me. It just like the character developed as the show went on for me, and it was like almost a completely different character at the end, but it was still fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was defeated, he was broken, but he was still doing what he could to hold his family together. You know what I mean? And that was really powerful. It was a really powerful role, and he blew me away, dude. I don't know what else to say about it.
That scene where he picks up that crown was totally improvised between him.
Oh, it was improvised?
Yes.
Dude, that was
the crown
beautiful.
was not supposed to fall off.
Like, I teared up.
And he picked up and improvised that, and they said, let's roll with it.
Yeah. Well, it was so cool, like, when the doors burst open and they said, Viserys Targaryen, first of his name, and I lost it, dude. Yeah. And he come crawling in there and being as strong as he could. Yeah, just
he did a great job of
playing a sick, dying man was fantastic,
for
man.
Sure.
And like I said, you could really feel the emotion and anxiety because he knows that without him, his family's going to fall apart. He knows that he's dying, and it was all there, and he just portrayed it so brilliantly.
Yeah, and I think to give credit to that guy as well, he's in some of the Cornetto trilogy, and he's in, I believe, he's the shitty cop in fucking Hot Fuzz.
Peaky Blinders.
Oh, he was in Hot Fuzz, wasn't
he? Peaky Blinders. He's also in. I don't know if you guys have seen this show, but The Outsider, which is a Stephen King adaptation.
Yes.
I didn't see that one.
Phenomenal adaptation. We started it with a buddy the other day again because he hadn't seen it, and I was like, man, I want to watch this fucking show again. It's so good.
I was thinking like The Outsiders.
Switchblades.
Yeah, greasers and preps and jocks and stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Isn't it Socius? Socius?
Yes, Socius, you're right.
Yeah. Socius.
Socialist. God damn it.
Goddamn
fucking socialists taking it over.
Get them to Russia right now.
You're listening now. Hang up the phone.
All right, guys. We're going to move on to our number 4 picks on the TV series. Brandon, let's go with you, sir. What do you got at number 4?
Oh, well, it is Cabinet of Curiosities.
Okay.
Anybody that listens to this show knows that Guillermo del Toro is loved by all of us.
Yeah, big time.
The one thing I will say about this is that I have been so let down as of late of anthology films because I like short films. I love short films, as a matter of fact. And whenever I think about ABCs of Death, the original VHS, maybe a couple or one or two other VHS, and the last VHS, I was kind of like, fuck, man, will you guys... and to tailor that with how much we have all been wanting Cthulhu to be a part of a modern take on horror,
right,
in TV shows and movies, and he just fucking destroyed. There's only one episode of that entire show that I was like, meh. I could do without it. Every other one, I was like, I've watched them multiple times. The art direction is beautiful behind all of them. It's horror centric, so of course I love it. Right down to fucking the creature design in it. I mean, and to me, this feels like the closest thing to Hitchcock that I've seen, even with the Hitchcock remake, and no offense, Jordan Peele, to me, or Twilight Zone, right? I think it's the closest thing that I felt that I was like, man, this is a new age for me, Hitchcock, with added fantasy in there. It was just, I love that he would narrate the very beginnings. To me, like setting those up in those little cryptic fairy tale beginnings liners that he had, gorgeous. And then, I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro. I mean, it's so much fun to watch anything that this guy puts his hands on. The fucking new Pinocchio was dope.
Yeah, I was going to say Pinocchio was sick, dude.
I mean, like, I don't know if there's anything that I don't like of Guillermo's at all. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It feels very intimate the whole time that you're in this, because it's like he's reading you these stories himself.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's fantastic.
So there's a couple stories that are based off of H.P. Lovecraft works. The one in particular that I like in my favorite episode of the series is Pickman's Model.
Oh yeah,
and
that's the best one.
That's got Crispin Glover in it.
Of course.
He does a fantastic acting job in it, which he's a fantastic actor. And that, there's so many times that H.P. Lovecraft lore has been tried to apply to film, and it's been a failure, quite frankly, or it hasn't made it even to the screen, and it should have. Things that got prostituted out by studios and, producers and what have you. But Pickman's Model felt like one of the most accurate H.P. Lovecraft works, to film, to me. And so, I did enjoy it. And I think every episode's, somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. So, it's not too hard to knock out.
It's doable.
There's 6 or 8 of them. I can't remember.
Yeah.
8.
I believe 8 total.
But that one's my favorite in particular.
Only one I didn't like, though.
Which one was that?
It just didn't fit. I mean, it's the fucking Twilight episode. I'm just...
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. I would love for female directors to step in.
Rupert Everett
did an episode in there that was really good.
Right.
But it just was lacking for me. It was like it shouldn't have been a part of this series for me.
I hear you. Yeah, it was it felt like kind of a whimsical story that didn't fit the tone of everything else. Let's go with Josh on your number 4 pick. What do you have?
All right, so this is not technically a new series, but a new season release.
Yeah, it counts.
So I'm going to use it. Is it Stranger Things on anyone's list?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the new Stranger Things because it was mind-blowing. I thought this was some of the best stuff that they ever did.
I agree.
The whole Papa aspect with 11, I loved all that. I thought they killed that. Adding the new character, the surfboard pizza guy, I can't think of his name.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about the kid with the long hair.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, there's just so much to talk about with Stranger Things, but the story with Vecna and everything and how they tied it in, I loved it, man. It's just so much to elaborate on, dude. I don't even know how to describe.
Go ahead, Brandon.
The only thing I would say about it is that the killer part for me was leading to the ending.
Yeah.
Just that fucking, you always want your heroes to succeed to a certain degree. And just the badassery that was going on towards the end. Obviously, it's a cultural icon now, so everybody's going to latch on to it. From Eddie's fucking metal scene, which I'm glad he died. No offense to anybody but somebody needed to fucking go.
Right. Yeah.
And if it's the kid that fucking was a complete badass, became a badass towards the end.
Right.
It's really just, I don't think I'll ever forget about Stranger Things. I think even the bad seasons or the seasons that are considered bad, or, just reuse tropes and shit like that, I'm still okay with it. I'm still going to show my kids it.
It's a nostalgia show.
Right, and that's a good point that you said that, because it's been a family thing for me, something that me and my wife and my kids sat down, and something that we're excited for. And I think the main reason why I picked this as my number 4 is basically because of Sadie Sink. She blew me away this season. And so we'll talk about that more later on. But anyway, that was one of the reasons why I made my top.
Is Sadie Sink the red-haired?
Yes. Yep.
Let me tell you something real quick before we fucking move on. I know this is the TV show episode.
Yeah. Her performance in The Whale.
Her in The Whale.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen The Whale yet, but I heard it's a real tearjerker.
I've seen a couple clips, dude, and it's been
She's fucking mind-blowing in that.
Really?
She's fantastic.
She's gonna be a familiar name, I think, in the next 10 years.
The chemistry that I've already seen between her and Brendan Fraser's character is the interplay.
Yeah.
And their dialogue back and forth, and how those relationships and feelings and conversations, I've had them.
Yeah.
It is haunting, how good they are.
How real.
I could, it's so good.
Yeah.
So, she's a great actress.
Yeah. I think she's going to be a household name. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know mine has got to be on one of your guys' lists higher. So I have House of the Dragons at 4.
Yeah, it is definitely.
So
on my
we'll
list.
wait to give my notes on that.
Okay.
Once we get higher up the list for whoever else. So then that's going to lead us into female performance, and I feel like Josh was already kind of hitting on that tone.
Yeah.
Josh, who do you got there?
Sadie Sink.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just a phenomenal young actress, and I think she has nothing but great things to give us. She's going to develop as she ages. She's going to get into some serious roles, and she's only going to get better. And if she's this good now, I feel like she's going to be a really strong actress in about 5 years.
Yeah, this season of Stranger Things was built around her in the way that it was built around Will to start, but she had more involvement, more interplay. Will was away in another dimension,
right?
Whereas she was constantly involved, and she progressively, what to most by outsiders would be, slipping into madness, but there was a real concern there. Vecna was starting to take his hold of her.
Right. Well, and she was thinking
trajectory of character.
She was thinking, from the trauma, her backstory, and the situation with her mom, and she was thinking maybe she was losing her mind. You know what I mean? So, and just to watch that play out, I just thought they did a fantastic job writing that out, and she killed her role, man.
Oh, and her magical powers towards the end, man, that she put towards her acting, where she could levitate. I just thought that was super brave of her. To be able to show the world that she's a partial ghost and necromancer.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I'd love to see more of it.
Coming out at a time like this when they ain't got rights in our country.
Necromancers don't got any rights. All they want to do is bring the dead to life. Isn't that technically what happened to Jesus? Somebody brought him back from the dead?
Are you calling Jesus and his involvement necromancer?
Saying he's a goddamn necromancer.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
tell us, Lazarus.
Brandon, who do you got for your female performance of the year in TV?
Female performance of the year has to be Patricia Arquette, but I will say, as a close second, Jennifer Coolidge was the shit.
Yeah.
In White Lotus. Patricia Arquette, never, not to this degree has a woman scared the living shit out of me, but this lady is fucking just categorically fucking evil.
That voice she puts on. Oh.
It's a situation where I feel like Adam Scott must have been reacting to her the way that he would in real life.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Patricia Arquette in there and her voice that she pulls off is so mind-bogglingly evil. I don't know how else to place it. I want to be more articulate with my words here, but it's just she's...
Well, she almost sounds cardinal whenever she taps into that growl in her voice when she's on the verge of just like blowing up on Adam Scott's character in the show. Like she literally gets this growl tone like under her normal voice. Like she's got dual vocal cords or something, and it's like unsettling.
And I don't think that any other person... So not to give too much away about the story, but any other person would be able to pull off what she did based on two different worlds.
Yeah.
So Adam Scott knows her at work, but does not know her as the same human being or same character
on the outside.
on the outside, but the way that her outside character starts influencing or infiltrating his life, and the way that she's able to turn that on and off, is just eerie as fuck.
She's so warm to him in the real world and so cold to him at work.
And so weird, but she's warm to him, but she's got this very uncomfortable.
She's still got an agenda.
Next door neighbor, you want to get the fuck rid of.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I got you. Patricia Arquette. She was popular in the 90s.
Stifler's mom. Bit.
She was a lady who. Patricia Arquette. I don't.
Think no, that's not her name.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Jennifer Coolidge. Yeah, that's who I was thinking.
Yeah, Patricia Arquette. Yeah, kind of got. Well, David Arquette's sister.
Oh, okay.
She kind of got blackballed in the 90s. True Romance.
Okay.
She kind of got blackballed in the 90s. You know, she had a little bit of a run in films and stuff there, but she was one of those who stood up to the Harvey Weinsteins and was very independent and a strong woman and looked at it a feminist icon in many respects. Yeah. But that wasn't looked upon favorably in Hollywood, which seems ridiculous that that's the case 30 years ago, but it was. And she kind of started getting crap roles. She got a reputation for being difficult to work with, but it wasn't so much that. Yeah. It was just that she was, out there advocating for equal treatment of women and things like that in film. And she's just a wonderful lady in the real life as well. But it's wild whenever there's somebody that you admire so much as an actress. Her in Lost Highway is one of my favorite horror performances of all time. And Last Highway by David Lynch is a fantastic film.
She was also Sally Wheat in Boardwalk Empire. Forgot about that.
Yes, she was.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed her in that. Even
her character in that was awesome. Cool. She was badass.
But yeah, I mean, she can do anything in acting. She's fantastic.
There's never something that I've seen where her name's on the bill that I'm like,
even if it's a shit movie, she's a great actress.
Yeah.
Her performance is worth watching.
Yeah,
I agree.
So for my female performance of the year, I have Denise Go, and she was Deborah Miro in Andor. Arguably the heel of 2022 in all of TV. You love to hate her. She plays an extremely ambitious strategic supervisor for the Imperial Security Bureau, so IBS. And she is a mega bitch. I mean, she is hardcore, and she does not give a fuck who she pisses off. She has no other interest or motive in life other than being a mega imperial cunt. She is
sounds like the Empire did.
I mean, she is as evil as a character that I've seen ever in the Star Wars franchise.
That's awesome. I've yet to, surprisingly, Andor is on my to watch list.
If they could get her to be a Sith, that would be the only thing to take it up another level. Like her, and it's crazy what made me have even more respect for her in this role and make this selection. She's also in Under the Banner of Heaven. She plays one of the LDS wives.
Yeah.
Sam Worthington's wife. And her character is so meek and ran over, and it's just an exact opposite of this character. So whenever I saw this character next to that, I saw Under the Banner of Heaven before I saw Andor, I was like, I can't believe this is the same woman. Like literally every episode, Pam and I were looking at each other after 30 seconds that she was on the screen. I can't believe it's that chick from Under the Banner of Heaven.
That's crazy.
Like it's obviously physically her. You know it as soon as you see it. But the acting, it's just, again, I'm getting goosebumps telling you about this performance is underrated. And I know, kind of their award seasons and things are coming up. I hope she gets some recognition. I doubt she will. But she needs it, man. She deserved it.
Yeah. And real quick, just before we get out of this category, Fiona Shaw is another person that I fucking have loved watching. Is Andor's pseudo mom.
Yes.
Wow. What a powerhouse.
Sneaky great performance there too.
Oh my God. Like she's phenomenal in Killing Eve, where she plays a complete opposite character.
She played Aunt Petunia.
Oh, she's
on the Harry Potter series.
Dude,
I forgot about that.
She is wonderful. It's something about her voice that Joshua, how are you the number one fucking Star Wars motherfucker here? Like, I'm gonna fucking shit on you right now.
Some of my friends are still really mad at me I know.
Nothing Star Wars matters.
Right.
To
Rogue
me.
One is by far like one of my favorite things, so I'm really
To
excited.
me, more
for it.
than Rogue One and Andor. Because
Really?
they are two together throughout this Star Wars journey.
Right. Yeah, give
Easily.
this motherfucker, give Tony Gilroy the keys to the fucking Star Wars shit. 'Cause I
Oh my
love
God,
this
give-
realism.
My God, dude, it's Joshua. I do not want to give anything away, but just know that I'm very fucking pissed off at you.
I know.
Because
Rightfully so.
Jesus
Rightfully so.
Christ.
I'm gonna binge it, so yeah, we got to get it done.
Binge it. Well, I'm rewatching it with my wife because I watched it while I was gone. But yeah,
Right.
wow.
So let's get back to the list, guys. At number 3, Josh, who do you have? What series do you have at number 3 on your list?
I have Dahmer.
Okay,
Anybody else got Dahmer on their list?
I don't.
No, it was very close. It was very
Yeah.
close to making my list.
It was one of the most intense shows I probably watched in a long time for me personally. Evan Peters kills.
I thought you were going to go with him on the male picks.
It was hard. It was hard to choose Patty Constantine, but that his performance in that particular scene is what sold me and gave him male performance of the year.
Yeah.
Did you just say Evans Peters kills?
Evan Peters kills.
Yeah, he literally does that, Josh. He kills throughout the entire.
Yeah, he kills and kills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we need to have some respect for the victims' parents now.
yeah.
They're really mad that
By
he
the
won that
way,
award.
that was bullshit, dude. Like, if anybody's pissed about his fucking talk that he gave after winning that award, get the fuck out of here. You're reaching, I think.
No, I think they were just more pissed off about the fact that
He didn't acknowledge
won.
the families, right?
No, that the fact that he won an award for his portrayal, that they continue to have issue that this existence of this series. Some of the families are trying to sue and get money.
Right.
They have an issue with the fact that he is being identified and glorified, and the show is getting the praise that it is. And
As the monster
they
that,
can't
that he
come-
plays,
And I
right?
understand it. If I was in their situation, I'm sure I would have some of those
Yeah,
similar
I get
feelings.
that.
I get that.
You know, but this is a disassociation. Yes, it was a real events and real people were involved, but they're not necessarily telling your story either. So you need to.
And it's,
Right.
and it's
You know,
also being, I
realize
mean,
that.
it's going to be controversial. They knew what they were getting into. I still think that his performance was good, but yeah, out of respect for all the families, of course.
I think
nobody,
the right
nobody goes,
guy-
man, I'm really rooting for Jeff.
Nobody's keeping this in mind too. Like the show is being ran by an LGBTQ plus member of the community, Ryan Murphy, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yep.
The guy who does all the American Horror Story stuff, and there is an aspect of that needs to be considered with Jeffrey Dahmer. Like I don't think that that's ever been explored too much. The sexuality of his
Right.
killings to an extent that he was targeting what in most cases were homosexual boys.
Right.
And much like a Gacy or whatever, but yeah, it's the controversy with it. Again, hard for me to say. I don't, nobody in my family was killed by Dahmer, but
Right. But if they were,
it
right.
seems
You can see how you
like
could
a
have those
stretch to me
emotions.
personally.
Right. I get that. No, I picked it just because it was so intense and it was a lot of realism, and I thought it was like the best portrayal of the story that I've seen personally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. There were some scenes where I was like, oh, should I watch? I got to watch, but I don't want to watch. You
Right.
know what I mean? So
Right.
that one definitely made my top 5 because it was just so gripping. It was such a powerful series. So
The best part about the whole series to me was the cinematography. The cinematography
Absolutely.
was gorgeous.
yeah,
In the dingiest of ways. I mean, it's
right.
Yeah,
it's the cinematography in that made it. If it didn't have the cinematographer behind it, I don't think I would have liked it as much. But the visuals that you get, the close-ups and the just
His younger days, like when they were shooting in that house when he was alone, some of that is some of the best, cinematography. Dude, it's beautiful. It's like dingy, dark, dirty. You can feel it. You can feel the atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's really well done.
yeah. Lens treatments and lighting techniques and all that stuff definitely adds to that atmosphere. Brandon, what do you got at number 3, sir, for your series?
number 3. I have. Sorry, I should have been ready for that. I have White Lotus.
Okay.
All right, so I jumped on this bandwagon not very late, a season in already. So we got caught up. We watched the first season. Jesus Christ, it is just a cavalcade of fucking problems. So normally whenever a show airs and there's like you add too many issues going on at once, it's a problem because it's
overwhelming.
it's too much shit going on to be able to find out what's important and what actually matters in all of this. But since it's happening to multiple different groups of people at this one resort, it feels a little bit more balanced. Like whenever you move on to the next group, you know what they're dealing with and you know what they're going through. White Lotus is phenomenal. You really, this goes back to my movie picks. A lot of them were eat the rich type of a feel to them. It falls into the same vein. It's definitely what we've all seen as workers for individuals who work for a broader clientele, or not a broader clientele, but a much more narrow in scope clientele.
Right.
And the way that they're treated and the way that people deal with each of these issues on either side. And just so many bad things happen to so many, some could say justified individuals, and some that are really happen that are good people involved in this. And it's just shitting on everything. And meanwhile, you have Jennifer Coolidge, who's the light part of this, but she's still got a darker element to it. Her just ridiculous candor. Jennifer Coolidge is known for that very
Yeah.
It to me fits perfectly with this show.
Kind of mopey bitch.
Oh my
dude, her wasted at the award show was so good.
Dude, it was just phenomenal to see her acting chops like get put to a good place, especially in the second season. Liz loved the first season, still liked the second season. I love the second season. I mean, you really get to see Jennifer Coolidge shine, and it is just again a cavalcade, a force majeure, like where it is a cavalcade of bullshit happening all around everybody, and they're all just trying to deal with it. I didn't know if I'd like this, but it was hilarious, and I want more of it. I want another season. So yeah.
I kind of wish there was more comedy stuff out this year. I felt like it was like a little bit light, but I haven't watched White Lotus either. So
yeah, it's another one on my to watch list because it looks fantastic.
White Lotus will definitely perk your ears a little bit. It definitely brings in a little bit more comedy, especially the dry or dark humor that we all love. So it's definitely there. There's moments where I can hear you cackle. It's gonna be great, man.
Nice.
Give it a watch.
So at number 3, I have Barry, the latest season of Barry, season 3. Do you have that on your list, Brandon?
I do not, but
okay.
That's
just making sure because I can see you haven't done it.
That's one of those spiritual shows that you watch that you're just like, I already know that I'm going to love this, and it doesn't have to be on a list for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So
Barry, the most recent season is season 3, and it aired in April of 2022. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.4 on IMDb, 89% of Google users liked it. Stars Bill Hader, Henry Winkler, Stephen Root, who is Bill Dauterive, by the way, from King of the Hill, Sarah Goldberg, and Anthony Carrigan. Barry is a dark comedy drama series that was created by Bill Hader and his creative partner, Alec Berg. Barry himself is an Iraqi war veteran, if you've never seen the show, / hitman from Cleveland, and he starts to be an aspiring and eventual Hollywood actor who really just struggles with his self-identity. He has PTSD as well, very bad, from being in the war, and a lack of meaningful human relationships, really. And then he starts to have meaningful relationships as the seasons go out with people and develop complicated relationships with people. So it is a dark comedy. You know, the first season got a lot of awards. I mean, it got showered with Emmys and the like, but I would argue that this season is its best season 3 today.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much going on with every character. There's added layers of drama and complexity of relationships, and like Henry Winkler too, man. Oh my God, his acting performance. That's somebody I could have easily picked for, actor of the year as well on this TV series alone. He had to show such a range, and it is a fantastic show. If you haven't watched Barry by now, what are you doing with your life? And
Agreed.
you got to get to know NoHo Hank. Yeah, man, he is like one of my favorite characters in all of television.
Well, and it's funny because he wasn't originally a part to stick around. He wasn't supposed to be there, right? But this motherfucker comes out of left field,
right,
and nailed the fucking part. This is another one of those shows, and the reason why I tell Josh all the time whenever I do these top fives, it's stuff that I hope that other people will want to watch afterwards. Right. This is a given for me. This is like, if you're not watching it now, then you're not going to fucking listen to me. This is like top tier comedy and drama. And Bill Hader's a fucking powerhouse.
Oh, dude, Bill Hader's a genius.
His acting in this season is even better too, Bill Hader.
It's amazing. And Henry Winkler, my God, dude.
Yeah.
He's done some fantastic roles throughout the years. But he's in his fucking element. Yeah. I feel like this is what goes on in his head constantly.
He's the best, man. He's so fucking good. It's not even right how good he is in the show. But, it's Stephen Root, man, adds quite a complexity. He's kind of like an uncle figure to Barry, and they have a love-hate relationship. And he was like, on with his life here in the third season, not giving too much away. And he got drew back in by Barry, just his obsession with getting Barry's approval and attention and being a fatherly figure to Barry, even though he was exploiting him constantly to make money off these hit jobs. So, yeah, you guys got to check out Barry. Can't go wrong with Barry for sure. So we're going to get into disappointment of the year now for you guys. Is there a series that you had strong hopes for that you checked out this year that didn't quite land or meet your expectations? Or is there just a straight up piece of shit that you watched? So you take whatever approach you want or somewhere in between. Brandon, I'll start with you. Do you have a disappointment?
Yeah. So I have been following Killing Eve. I came into that very late. We had finished all 3 seasons to get prep for the 4th season. So you were talking about shows being around that are heavy on comedy. There are so many, especially, I can't remember her name right now. We can look it up while I'm talking about this. But the main actress in Killing Eve, not Sandra Oh, but
I can look it up. Let's see here.
Jodie Comer. I haven't seen anything that Jodie Comer's been in before I watched Killing Eve. She is fucking hilarious. And she nails every accent that she does. So she's an assassin. She nails every fucking single accent to perfection.
Wow, dude.
And the comedy involved from her sick, sadistic fucking assassin brain is, it's unparalleled. It's just pure genius. A lot of this was improv. I know that she's a funny motherfucker.
What is Killing Eve a comedy, or how would you describe? What's the show about for somebody who hasn't seen it?
What's this show about? It might as well be like that nighttime during the week cop show where they're trying to hunt down the killer or the mastermind behind everything. Yeah. But they keep on getting thwarted. It is a straight up, in my eyes, it's a straight up dark comedy with very graphic violence in it. And kind of a love story. It's a lot. It's a lot all wrapped into this one little BBC show. But the comedy far outweighs it for me. I cannot.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a BBC show.
Yeah. BBC show. It is just, I slept on this for the longest time. I kept on seeing ads for it. I fucking watched this. We watched the last season to catch up with the new season. I could watch that over again right now and leave it on play in the background, and I would still fucking love every bit of it. I keep on wanting to see those hits or those laughs or those. It will go down as. It would have gone down as one of my favorite shows of all time. The last season is not bad. But whenever I invest so much time in something like that, I was a little let down.
Yeah.
Much like I was let down more by this than I was Peaky Blinders. But this one definitely hurt because it's something that me and Liz both like. We became addicts to this shit. I mean, it was like a fucking religion that we watched this with friends. We watched this with each other again. Let's watch it again.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny. It's just too good, man. And this last season just made me feel a little lackluster.
Yeah. Well,
so
I could definitely, I agree with the sentiment on Peaky Blinders a little bit. I didn't make that pick for myself as far as disappointments. I actually chose The Patient as my disappointment, the Steve Carell and Domhnall Gleeson show that came out on FX. It started out strong. I was, after seeing Steve Carell's performance in Foxcatcher, like you knew that motherfucker had some demons to work out on the screen.
Right.
And when I heard he was playing a psychiatrist to a serial killer that trapped him in his basement, and that serial killer was going to be Domhnall Gleeson as an actor, who's one of my favorites, I was like, sign me the fuck up. This is going to be fantastic. You know? And it did start out okay and strong. It got a little wonky with some of the storytelling. Once Steve Carell Steve Carell was captured too quickly in the show too. Like they gave away too much right away.
Right.
I feel like they could have built to that in that relationship a little bit more so, where the serial killer Domhnall Gleeson's character got comfortable enough to make this decision and trap him in his basement. And Josh and I were talking about this before we started recording today. Like the ending is where it loses me in the last few episodes, and particularly the finale. It really felt like they didn't know how to end the story, and the way that they wanted to end the story and ultimately did in Steve Carell's trajectory as a character, where he goes in the narrative, they could have easily achieved that in less episodes more efficiently and told the story better. But they I think they were too busy trying to be cute and keep everybody thrown off onto what ultimately was going to happen with Steve Carell. Is he going to get out? Is he not? If he doesn't, what's going to be the means of the situation? Does he kill him in the basement, or what's going to happen? And I felt like they just didn't know how to end it.
Yeah.
And if the story just wasn't laid out very well in the finale, there was some closure I think you were looking for as a viewer that was never delivered also in some senses. And so I don't know what exactly happened with the show, if the writers are to blame. I mean, certainly Steve Carell's performance is strong. Domhnall Gleeson's performance is pretty decent. He's supposed to play kind of like a turdy douchebag guy who's just like obsessed with like a country artist. I can't remember who. I want to say like Kenny Chesney or somebody like that. And like, he's just like constantly like he's obsessed with him to the point he's involved in a community and a social media board. And that's like all his life is outside of working. The serial killers, he loves this country artist and goes to like his concerts around the United States.
Wow.
Which is like a weird obsession that his character has. But
yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting cork to throw in there, but ultimately it never felt like it had any relevance to the storytelling for as much time as they spent on it at various times too. Right. So that's just kind of my critique. I could have went with Peaky Blinders too. That's another one I feel like they didn't know how to end it. But I think this one kind of took precedent over that. I felt the disparity was a little bit stronger here. So, Josh, what do you got for disappointment of the year? What's something that you watched that didn't quite live up to your expectations?
I'm going to go with Blockbuster. And I really guess I should have watched all 10 episodes, but we couldn't make it that far. I only got a couple in. Yeah, I actually like Randall Park. I think he's a great comedian. So that's why I was excited for it. I've seen him on several different things. He had a stand-up that he did that was really hilarious. I've seen him on Conan. He's a pretty funny guy. And, I like nostalgic stuff, and Blockbuster is most certainly nostalgic for all of us. We all lived during the Blockbuster era. And that was another thing that bugged me about it, is it was supposed to be set in 1993, and it felt very modern.
Okay.
And like it felt like the comedy wasn't really well written. Like it kind of felt more like a old school kind of TV sitcom kind of feel, but not in a good way. Like it, you know what I mean? Like the acting wasn't there
already. Like I remember them saying that was going to be a show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. And it's still there, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to do another season from what I read. So, yeah, it was a big disappointment for us. My wife loves comedies. We thought it was going to be something that we could sit down and watch around the kids, and it just didn't do it for us. So,
yeah, once you start having kids and multiple kids, that has to be a consideration in your viewing abilities and time zones.
So yeah, it was a major disappointment. I thought that was going to be better than it was, and like I said, we only got like 2 episodes in, and then haven't watched it.
And he is a good comedian. He was rolling around with the likes of Janny McBride and fucking during their heyday, through comedy in the theaters. I mean, Danny McBride, Seth Rogen, shit like that. So
yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Okay, let's move back onto the TV list, and we'll just stick with you, Josh. Josh, what did you have at your number 2?
My number 2, I had Obi-Wan.
Okay.
And basically, again, because of nostalgia, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, as Brandon pointed out earlier, and Hayden Christensen's...
Not Josh. Apparently fucking not.
Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker is one of my absolute favorite characters other than Ahsoka. So it was so cool to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen get on the screen together again and have some chemistry. But I think the best part of that whole fucking series was the little Leia. The little actress that played Leia Organa blew me away, dude. She made that show for me. The chemistry between Ewan McGregor and her was great.
For sure.
And it shined on the screen, or on the TV, So
I felt like the sex scene was a little strong, though.
Yeah, it was a little much.
Jot this down real quick. These things my children shall not watch.
But no, that show got shit on because I don't know. I loved Reva. I liked Moses Ingram. I think she did great, but a lot of people shit on that character as a new character in Star Wars.
She was awesome.
And she was awesome.
Yeah.
I saw that definitely made the list for me.
Nah, that's bullshit, man. She was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Grand Inquisitor was dope.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Rupert. What's his name?
Guy from Dark City.
Yeah, fantastic. The Grand Inquisitor was fantastic.
The best part about that show were the lightsaber battles, in my opinion.
Yeah, the fight choreography. I remember us going on about that, Brandon.
Well, just to see Vader with that presence on screen again, that strong, vicious, I will cut you down and destroy you, Vader, vengeful Vader, that showed up on the screen again, man. And that was so awesome for me. That made me feel like I was... Yeah, I felt like I was 10 years old again, dude. So
actually go back and put all of Vader's screen time, cut a reel of Vader's screen time in the Star Wars universe versus other characters. Like, I feel like it would actually be like surprisingly low.
I think there's only 18 minutes of Vader in the original trilogy.
Yeah, I don't think that like his heinousness that you hear that he had at various times was ever really captured timeline wise on the screen well enough until this. Right, I think we saw this.
Maybe Revenge of the Sith a little bit towards the end, but this one really,
he was back those Yinglings.
Yeah,
I think that's yeah. The one thing I will say about that, with his little screen time, was what I think that worked well for him being a haunting figure.
I agree.
Agreed. Because when he was on screen, it's like, oh fuck, there he is. What's
but I'm saying like,
yeah,
there was not a depiction though of this heinous person that they alluded to so much, like to the violent nature at which we saw in this series.
I agree.
In my opinion, it was the first time we got it. I think you saw a blip of it in Rogue One. The scene where he comes out on the ramp and he starts like killing every motherfucker in sight, trying to get after the rebel ship. And like I think that was kind of the beginning of what you saw in large doses with this series. And the fight choreography that they went over, they did some behind the scenes stuff that they put up, between Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. It was like insane.
Yeah.
like the training that they went through and how well they performed.
And good to note that Hayden Christensen has signed on for several other Disney projects, including Ahsoka. So, which we'll talk about that coming up too.
Nice. Very nice.
Dope.
Brandon, what do you got at number 2, sir?
Number 2, House of the Dragon. I think that they had a lot to live up to, right? They have a whole acclaimed series with a decently shitty ending. And they had to live up to.
I think that's going to be number 1 for Josh.
Oh, okay. We can wait. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll hop on that. And this might be your number 1, Brandon. So now we can talk about it if it is the case. But at my number 2 is Severance. And
it is a tie.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll talk about Severance now.
Yeah, it's a show I'm really excited to watch, so I'm excited to hear you guys talk about it.
I'll pivot back to you, hand the ball back off to you. As far as, the analytical stuff that I put down, Severance aired up for Apple TV in February of 2022. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.7 on IMDb, 95% of Google users liked it. Stars Adam Scott, which we mentioned earlier, Britt Lower. You might recognize her from the what the hell is that? God, I can't remember the name of that series with Jay Baruchel. That was Man Seeking Woman. She was Jay Baruchel's sister on Man Seeking Woman. So Patricia Arquette's in it. We mentioned her earlier. Christopher Walken and John Turturro also in this show, and they are both fantastic.
Christopher Walken's in it, huh?
Yeah,
damn,
he's good. A series
John
was created.
Turturro.
Yeah, I know. Such a complexity to that character. There's
so much beauty to this show in general. And by the way,
yes.
I meant to say that it's tied for I have a tie at my number 1.
Yeah, I understand.
This is probably one of the freshest ideas that I've seen in a very long time. What a fucking concept. What a bleakness. The set design is unparalleled. You have fucking Christopher Walken in this.
Right.
Just tearing it up as a fellow worker who develops this gay relationship with John Turturro. And it's so beautiful. Like most of this show is wrapped up as a puzzle box, but you start to peel pieces of that paper off and you start to see like new paper underneath. And you're like, how the fuck am I getting to the end of this goddamn present? There's so many fucking right turns. It is some of the best TV I've watched in the past 5 years. Easily. For me.
Yeah, sweet, dude. I'm excited for it. I've read nothing but great things, man. It's made a lot of top, numbers and lists. So
and there's not a whole lot of sci-fi fucking TV shows that are killing it out there, man. This is
You're exactly right. Yep.
Fucking dope.
Yeah, I agree totally. And let's talk about kind of what the center of the story is, and that's Lumen Industries. Lumen is a company, you have no idea what they do really at large, other than they've patented this severance treatment where if you work for their company, you can undergo severance. And severance is to imply that you sever mentally your work life from your personal life, which, I try to actually kind of do that myself internally.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Work at work and home at home, especially as a salaried person that's on the clock 24/7 in some degrees. Like, I would welcome this procedure, but it also explores the dark ends of this procedure as well, and the nefarious things that can happen. But Lumen Industries patents this, and there's a lot of controversy in, we'll call the real world, as we alluded to it earlier, a lot of conjecture, a lot of college campus, displays, talking out and speaking out against it, paper in communities, having, concerts and things and promotion of, taking down Lumen Industries and the severance procedure in particular. And it's just a mind wipe medical procedure that they patented as severance. And I guess really the idea here as a company is to obviously get the best out of you as a worker. You're not worried about or plagued with your, home responsibilities at work, and you as a worker, they compensate these people, I'm assuming, even though they don't explicitly mention it, for undergoing this procedure as well. But there's several employed there. A lot of characters you get to know and love. John Turturro's character we mentioned. Mark, which is Adam Scott's character, gradually uncovers a web of conspiracy, though, and he plots eventually. The plot of the entire thing really is predominantly follows Mark's character, but you do get a little side story here and there, at least in the first season, that is, of a couple characters, particularly toward the end. And Severance, Brandon said it, as good of a new original sci-fi show. It was created by Dan Erickson and is directed largely by Ben Stiller, most of the episodes, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he does a great job.
Super mind-blowing to me. Me personally, I'm not a huge Ben Stiller fan.
You're right.
I never really have been, but fuck me, man. This is, talk about comedians having that dark side, man. It is like, wow. Like,
right.
Yeah. There was never a moment that I wasn't like, okay, let's go to bed. We'll watch the next episode tomorrow. Like, it was always like fighting that, wanting to fucking keep on watching.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Pam and I would stretch our bedtime for sure to squeeze in another episode here and there. It was that addicting. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
dude,
it's a fantastic show. So let's jump to both Brandon's number 2 and Josh's number 1 now.
Okay.
If that works for everybody.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so that's House of Dragons, which I had at number 4 as well. And Josh, I'll let you start things off with the discussion there on House of Dragons.
I mean, just beautifully done, man. I think a lot of people were skeptical after the last season of Game of Thrones on what we were going to get, but all whole new writers, and they killed it, man. They stuck to the books fairly well. Although I felt like they told a lot in this first season. Like it went further than I expected in this first season.
Yeah.
But whoever casted this show is a goddamn genius. Like, from Millie Alcock to Emma Darcy. I mean, that's a beautiful casting job. I thought Olivia Cook and Emily, how do you say her last name? Carey, I think it is.
Yeah.
Or Carey or Carey or whatever. I think that was a brilliant casting. Matt Smith is incredible. Like I said earlier, Patty Constantine.
Right.
The story's well written. It's visually gripping and beautiful. Right. It brings back iconic places from Game of Thrones, so it just feels like you're back in the Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? It's just so good. I loved everything about it.
Can't forget Rice Ifans in it as well. His Hand of the King.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's an evil motherfucker in this. And he portrays it.
He's a shithead.
So now that we brought that up, I feel like I can put a little 2 cents in here.
Yeah, go for it.
That motherfucker sold the show for me.
Really?
I agree.
My favorite character from Game of Thrones was, for the longest time, he was neck and neck with the Hound for me as my favorite character. Well, in a trifecta, fucking Brienne of Tarth, the Hound,
right?
And then third would be Littlefinger. Because we get to see the
complexities of the character.
I mean favorite character not being necessarily a good person.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's a lot of hack and slash, right, that we've all seen. But the diplomacy and the lies behind that and the maneuvering, like you definitely see it within this new character.
For sure.
He definitely is a conniving little cocksucker.
Right, slithering little snake, fuck. Yeah.
And in this world where he's not good with the sword, that's what works for him as a weapon. I think that we would all be some kind of a shithead in some way, shape, or form if we were thrust into this world.
Sure.
But yeah, it really is great to see a brand new show that's not Game of Thrones, because it's definitely not Game of Thrones.
Not at all, right.
And take a fresher idea on it and just mold it into their own thing, man. Fucking go for it. I want to keep on watching more.
Yeah, I loved it, man.
If you don't know, House of Dragons originally aired on HBO beginning in August of this past year, 2022. 8.5 on IMDb, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, 89% of Google users liked it. Josh mentioned, we haven't mentioned all these actors to this point, but Millie Alcock, Emma Darcy, Matt Smith, Olivia Cook, Patty Constantine, Rhys Ifans star in it. It's multiple characters, tells all their stories in Game of Thrones fashion, but primarily you're looking at essentially the launching point for this was Martin's 2018 novel, Fire and Blood. And the series is set 100 years after the Seven Kingdoms are united by Targaryen conquest, nearly 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, 172 years from Daenerys Targaryen's birth. So this story, and it's been alluded to throughout the actual Game of Thrones series,
Right.
Is of the Targaryen civil war that takes place. Everybody's vying for King Viserys' throne, and those people vying for it are Viserys' children in particular, and I guess widow and brother.
Yeah.
So they're all battling for control of the Iron Throne. His cousin as well is trying to throw in her bidding for her family and her house too. So it is the highest rated HBO premiere, nearly 10 million of record on its first night in recent years for sure.
Yeah.
So I believe it's like 9.7.
And I believe the pilot episode of Last of Us hit as their overall for the past 10 years of people who showed up for that show.
Yeah,
so that's
second all time to Game of Thrones.
Fucking insane.
Did you guys see that that clip that somebody recorded in New York City when the House of Dragon premiered, and they took a video of an apartment complex, and almost every window was in sync on when the intro come on. Like you can see the lights lighting up and going off at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and also we have to wonder about that guy actually looking into other people's windows and
fair enough.
True.
It seems a little odd.
A little backstory on
Watch
that.
The Watcher. The Watcher is a story about him.
Watcher is a fantastic movie. Lighthearted subject matter.
Just a child's folklore romp in the vein of Paddington Bear.
Folklore romp. Yes.
Yep. Alrighty. So we've all revealed our number twos, blends of number ones. We just talked about the new House of Dragons, a part of the Game of Thrones universe. Before we finish revealing out the rest of the list, let's throw out what we're looking forward to the most this year. And I'm going to start that conversation out with The Last of Us. We just mentioned them. And Last of Us, to me, yes, the pilot just aired here on Sunday. It's already the second highest debut of HBO ever in the last 10 or so years, almost 5 million in the debut. And it crashed HBO Max in its premiere.
Good job.
As well. The adaptation hit is after a PlayStation hit game that is developed by the Naughty Dog Studios, and those are the same guys who do Uncharted. And it's a post-apocalyptic zombie game, just to put it simply. But the zombies are different than zombies have been presented in most mass media in the past. And that is, they refer to them as clickers. They do make a clicking noise, like an audible clicking noise. And they did something fresh with the zombie concept, and that was essentially that fungus that ants and other insects can get that turns them essentially into zombies and bends animals to their will. The conditions of Earth, with global warming and things of those ilks, has created a perfect environment for that fungus to infect humans. And therefore the humans are now zombies and being controlled under the whims and wills of this fungus, and is starting to turn Earth into a wild vegetative landscape over cityscapes. And it's just crazy. The original story starts out with Joel and his family. And in this show, that is, in 2003, the game follows a similar trajectory. 20 years pass, and now forwards us to 2023 present day, and you see what the world's like in this alternative universe. And it is just stark and bleak to start. It follows a lot of the similar themes of post-apocalyptic worlds under military states. And it seems like hauntingly not that far away from reality for us.
Right.
Like it just like one fuck up and we're in The Last of Us, or we're in The Handmaid's Tale. Another one I could have thrown out as a disappointment. But yeah, like these fucked up versions of reality that seem like very achievable, and if not in our lifespan, certainly our children's lifespans. So Last of Us is what I'm looking forward to this year. What about you, Brandon?
I want to hit on that too. The beautiful thing about this, and I said this before recording, this is my standing adult game. This would be my favorite one that I've played over and over and over and over and over again. And the beautiful thing about it is, yes, we do have the backdrop with zombies. I'm over zombies. I've been over them for quite some time in video game and TV. They're just over and over and over again. They just milked it dry, just like they're milking superheroes dry. For me, this game is not about the infected. It's not about it whatsoever. It's what for me, The Walking Dead was trying to do in the comic book.
Did do.
Because it was trying to show all these different aspects of mental health and this survival of how quick society can turn in on itself. I think it's a, not to be like heavy-handed about this, but it's a very a social look at society as it is, and knowing that right now, as people, we've already seen the things that have happened within the past 3 years of our own country. Barrett is very much right. It is something that could happen right now.
Right.
And these people would react in a lot of the same ways that people have made this game into being. It deals with trauma. It's a beautiful story that has not always the brightest endings. It just doesn't. And people are the director or showrunner had said that it's going to be the most faithful to the video games than any other TV show out there. And I see where a lot of people will bitch about that, complain about that. They're going to complain about everything. That's what I want. That's all I want.
Give me the story in live action, dude. Yeah, exactly.
That's all I want. I don't need you to show me how creative and artistic you are with something that is already perfect.
Yeah, don't fuck with the story.
Every aspect of it. There's nothing wrong with it. I literally, during COVID, the second game came out, and I was in training, and my wife was 6 months pregnant. I literally would wake up every day. I can't tell you the last time I did this. Maybe as a kid, I would play this game from sun up to sundown. Take an hour break in there in between, but I fucking beat that motherfucker in like 3 or 4 days. And every aspect of that, I cry a lot in movies. I cry a lot in TV. I have never had a game make me bawl crying like I have in The Last of Us 2. And a lot of people shit on that fucking game. This is one of the best stories that a video game has ever told, ever.
I think The Last of Us initially had kickback, but then it eventually worked itself out.
Yeah.
Because it didn't ultimately end up getting nominated for a lot of awards and things like that. And it actually kind of got a cult following after that, especially with some of the expansions and things that they did with the story. But yeah, there was definitely a backlash initially with it. And I know it was over a few very specific points, character motivation versus actions that they took, without giving too much away in that story, because it might ultimately lead to the show. But yeah, for sure. Last of Us is definitely something I'm looking forward to. What about you, Brandon? Anything different than Last of Us?
The other thing that I would say is Ahsoka is on more the fantasy side, the brighter side of Star Wars, which I'm not terribly super into, but I'm excited to see what happens. And Acolyte, I'm kind of interested to see what the fuck that's going to be about.
For sure.
Exactly, because there's not a lot of backstory on Sith, so this will be cool, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have you guys seen that new upcoming show called Will Trent, where he has a small dog and he can understand crimes before anybody else can. Let's get into that. That's an original idea. No, that's
Minority Report with Airbud. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I feel like it's an error, but yeah, well, it's got a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, so that shows how much fucking I care about IMDb.
IMDb ratings sometimes are off for sure.
Right.
Yeah. No, honestly, I have not, unless you guys remind me, I have not seen anything. I'm trying to think. I would love to see another season of Barry, but I don't think that will happen for 2 years.
Is Ahsoka your most anticipated, Josh?
Yeah, Ahsoka is definitely my most anticipated. Main reason being is Dave Filoni is joining Jon Favreau for this, and if you don't know who that is, he is the creator, other than George Lucas, of the Clone Wars animated series. So
he fleshed a lot out.
Yeah.
With the world building.
Right. Exactly. So he's actually created a lot of these characters that will be in Ahsoka. One of them, Ezra, which has been an animated character, Ezra Bridger. He's going to be a live action. So that's what I'm mostly excited about, is seeing some of these animated characters come to life and seeing what John and Dave can do with them, because they're geniuses. So they haven't done anything wrong with anything in Star Wars. So I think it's going to be great. And like I said, also excited Hayden Christensen signed on for the project. So
curious to see what those will be.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he'll be Anakin or if he'll be Vader, or how that plays out. So
for sure. All right, guys, let's get into our number one picks. And close out with the rest of our number one picks. Josh's was Game of Thrones. Brandon had Severance as the tie. I am going to predict that Brandon's other one is also my number one. Is it Andor by chance, Brandon?
Oh, it 100% is.
Yes.
That by far, wow.
Yes.
We can't give too much away because of a certain fuckhead on this thing.
Yeah, I apologize, guys.
No, but yeah, I mean, it really is the best version of Star Wars that it could ever be. This to me is what I want Star Wars to be. This is it very much is in the same realm, I think, as Fallen Order, the PS5 game or PS4 game.
The ending of that game.
In a way, it's a little fantastical in Fallen Order, but this is nitty gritty. These are the fucking motherfuckers on the line, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I want to see. Hey, they've been revolting all these fucking movies, right? This is a motherfucking revolution.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a TV show in a long time or movie where I was like, man, I stand behind these motherfuckers. I want to just go out and kill every one of them. It's fantastic, dude.
Well, and Cassian Andor is just such a fantastic character too. I'm so glad they added him.
Yeah,
because the dude that plays him is incredible, and the character itself is just so great.
Yeah, Diego Luna is a great actor, and hard to believe he's getting up there in age nowadays. But Andor, of course, debuted in September of 2022 for Disney Plus. 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.4 on IMDb, 84% of Google users liked it. Stars Diego Luna, Stellan Skarsgård, Denise Go, who I mentioned earlier, and Kyle Soller. Stellan Skarsgård's character has got to be talked about.
He's the best character of the entire
That's
show.
Bill's dad, right?
Yes, in real life.
In real life, I'm saying,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
He's Alexander and Bill's father.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a fantastic actor anyways. He's one of my favorites. And the character that he plays is really complex as well. He is basically trying to birth the rebellion, but also take some very uncouth ways of to get his means, and pitting even some rebel forces against others, or sacrificing some for the larger good. And you can tell in his character, he's fine with killing one for for the movement.
He's a lot like Forrest Whitaker's character as well.
Saul Guerrero.
Yeah, Saul Guerrero.
Yeah, he's a lot like him.
Who's in the series.
Yeah. And I get, I mean, it's awful, but I get why he has to make these hard choices, and you're
right.
And you're just,
I I love that they're diving into this because like what you see in the original trilogy is more of just like the important parts of the rebellion,
Right.
like not the nitty gritty. So it's cool that they're diving into that.
And you guys aren't familiar with Andor and what it is. Andor is a science fiction show, a part of the Star Wars universe, and it's a prequel to Rogue One. It was created by Tony Gilroy, beginning 5 years before the events of Rogue One and A New Hope, which Rogue One and A New Hope basically are on the same timeline. One leads into the other. The series follows up with, of course, an ensemble cast, follows multiple characters, and it's basically all about the Rebel Alliance formation, as we mentioned, in opposition of the Galactic Empire. The primary character is Cassian Andor, a thief for hire in most cases, who becomes a revolutionary and eventually joins the rebellion. So, and you see that rise and that change in his character. Brandon mentioned this earlier. His adoptive mother in the show is a fucking great character as well. And
Josh.
especially as you learn more about her.
Tonight.
And,
I'm off the next 4 days, boys, so I'm going to get it done.
It's just incredible. I can't speak highly enough of it as well.
There's
The
a
only other
certain
thing-
point in this fucking. I'm sorry, Barrett.
Go ahead.
There's a certain point in this show where shit goes fucking,
Bonkers.
Ape shit.
and that whole part, I was that whole part, I was like, oh, bro, I got a full on fucking Bone Town right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm riding the fucking Bone Train right.
Hell yeah.
Like this is, and one of the greatest acting performances of the show. Man, that chick is so good.
Yeah.
She's
I have
so-
to say, the lady who played his adopted mother, they actually had the first fuck in the Star Wars universe, but Disney ended up changing it.
Oh,
It was Forget, I think it was. They changed it to. It's very obvious whenever the moment happens. It's toward the end of the series, and there's this part that's supposed to say "fuck the Empire," but I think it's like "forget the Empire." But you can tell how they edited it.
oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
They turned in.
Come on,
cut with
Disney.
her saying "fuck," and Disney made her overdub.
You're going to create a show that targets an adult audience, and then you're going to pull some shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Well, Disney's going to have to start making some decisions because they own Fox properties and a lot of other things. Like, they own the now Aliens of, a Disney princess,
Mhm.
the Alien Queen. Predator's a Disney property. That's why they've had these partnerships with places like Hulu and done films such as Prey. And we're going to continue to see those type of relationships going forward. Noah Hawley, who does Fargo and Legion for FX, is actually doing an Alien series.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's going to be on Hulu. And
That'd be
I
sweet.
believe- yeah. So, again, there's a lot of cool stuff coming, and it's hard to keep track what Disney has their hands on completely. The only other comment I want to make about Andor to me, again, back to Stellan Skarsgård, there's 2 monologues that are required listening this year in film and TV. The first is Pearl. If you listen to our film episode, Mia Goth's Pearl, the dinner table scene toward the end of the movie with her sister-in-law, that is required listening, in my opinion, and watching.
Yeah.
And there is a scene where Stellan Skarsgård's character is meeting somebody that's a double agent, a mole in the Galactic Empire, in a secret location, and this person starts to challenge Stellan and say, "Oh, you don't know what I went through and the sacrifices that I've made," and Stellan sets him fucking straight and tells him exactly what he has invested in this rebellion. And it is just an evisceration
Yeah.
of the fucking art of acting. Like he is the man. He is the man, and he quickly reminds you in this monologue, in this episode I'm alluding to right now. And it's fantastic, and might have a little treat on the edit of the show that includes said monologue
Hell yeah.
for listeners to bait the hook to check out Andor. Guys, how are you feeling about your list? You think we did it some justice?
I think so,
Oh,
man.
most definitely. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making this list. Much like you guys, I feel like I watch more TV shows than I do movies these days.
Same, yeah.
This past year, fucking TV shows, man, they killed.
Yeah, I
I
loved
agree.
2022. I thought it was a really strong year for TV, man, or for series, I should say.
Yeah, I told you
Yeah.
guys that actually, this is the first year it was really hard for me to do a film episode because I'd watched so much TV. And, just the new series that came out this year that I watched, I also watched some other shows and got caught up on those that came out in, years
Previous years, right?
Yeah, like more historical shows. And like my TV time just outweighed my TV series time, that is, just outweighed my movie watching time, like, 3 or 4 to 1 probably, because there is so many good TV series, even that just came out just this year alone. So I just want to recap our list real quick in case anybody's forgetting and oh yeah, I heard that, I want to check that out, so on and so forth. So at Josh's number 5, he had Addams Family. Brandon had Sandman. I had Under the Banner of Heaven. For number 4, Josh had Stranger Things. Brandon had Cabinet of Curiosities. And I had House of Dragons. For number 3, Josh had Dahmer. Brandon had White Lotus. And I had Barry. At 2, let me find that. Wherever the hell I put that note at. At 2, Josh had Obi-Wan. Brandon had House of Dragons. I had Severance. And then at 1, Josh had House of Dragons. Brandon had Andor and Severance. And I had Andor. So, yeah, it sounds like we had a lot of similar, interests toward the top end of the list in particular.
Heck yeah.
And, yeah, guys, check these out. So, before we get off the show today, we wanted to give you guys at least a punch list or lean into one specifically, some honorable mentions.
Yeah, I just picked one. I wasn't sure, so.
Brandon, however you want to approach it, what's an honorable mention or mentions for you, sir?
Yeah, I think any of my anime fans out there, Chainsaw Man is killer. The funniest comedy little show thing that I've seen is Murderville. Murderville is legit.
Is it good?
It's legit to me.
I've heard good things.
I think it's so funny. Even turned on the special with my wife. Yeah, it's amazing. And then another animated show, Vox Machina, on Amazon. If anything Amazon has to offer, it be that. And lastly, I would say if you aren't watching The Bear on FX, give it a shot. It's a brainchild of Mehdi Matheson. And the stellar acting jobs in all of it. And it's just a cook's perspective.
Very cool. Josh, what's an honorable mention for you?
I just have one. It's the newest season of Unsolved Mysteries, which is on Netflix. Fantastic. I mean, they had to change it up, obviously, because Robert Stack's passed. You know what I mean? Right. He's no longer with us, but they still pay homage to him in a lot of the episodes. But the stories, man, are fantastic. There's one story in specific that I recommend everybody check out. It's about these 2 rangers on a Navajo reservation, and they talk about their experiences with UFOs and Sasquatch and stuff like that, and their interactions with the federal government, the U.S. government. Even though they're their own entity, they shared information. They talk about that. And, yeah, it's great, man. A lot of cool mysteries, great stories. It's not narrated like the old ones. So they kind of just give you information at the beginning of the episode and then it develops. So, yeah, they're, like I said, if you're into that kind of stuff, anything unsolved or mysterious or, aliens, Sasquatch, stuff like that, it's definitely a great watch.
Yeah, I haven't checked that one out. That's been totally off my radar. But I do remember you mentioning it whenever you started it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give kind of a punch list. So let's say we were doing a list of 10. This is what my 6 through 10 would have been. We Own This City. I've talked about it on the show here before. A depiction of, what takes place, some of what took place in Baltimore City with politics and cops and the mayor and the political pushes back and forth and over policing and some of the things that were happening with minorities in particular and corrupt cops. So if
fantastic
none of those
show.
things, yeah. That's great. Rick and Morty, this new season of Rick and Morty, I told you guys whenever I started it, it had some of the best. I felt like they were kind of back to the magic that they had in the first season. I will say, kind of fell off the rails the last couple episodes, even though I still enjoyed them, on how they wrapped up the season. They kind of acted like there was going to be an overarching story the whole time throughout the season, and there wasn't. Or at least they didn't follow through on it in this season, that is. So I don't want to give too much away if you haven't watched it. What We Do in the Shadows, the funniest show I think out there, other than maybe Rick and Morty, period, on FX, which is the TV adaptation of the movie. And there's just Matthew Berry is one of my favorite comedic actors, period, as it is anyways. And the gal who does Nadia is starting to become one of my favorite female comedian actresses. She steals the show in this season, in my opinion. She has some of the best shit in this episode in this season. So where am I at? So after What We Do in the Shadows, I'd have Peacemaker. Peacemaker is another great one. I know, again, superheroes, people are getting overdone with them, but this is a different take. This is like, a guy, if you haven't seen, Suicide Squad, the newer James Gunn one, that is, don't waste your time with the other one.
Yeah.
But the newer James Gunn one that has King Shark in it, and Harley Quinn, and Idris Elba's in it as well. That's a great movie, and this is just a development out of this character post the events in that. And John Cena, this is a role that John Cena, in my opinion, as crazy as it sounds, was born to play. It's I think he kind of almost plays a character that people perceive him to be in real life, kind of just like a dumb jock,
Right.
And really, the guy's super intelligent in real life. Not to say that his character is, but like I said, he's depicting somebody of lesser psychological means. And then I had Sandman as well as another one of my honorable mentions, and I already leaned into the reasons whenever we talked about Sandman earlier when Brandon had it as number 5. So yeah, Sandman was a great one as well. Yeah. Guys, I'm feeling pretty good about this list, and hopefully we can get some people out there to check out some new stuff.
Yeah, and just real quickly, not to elaborate on too quickly because I know we're trying to close up, but hopefully we still will get lots more Rick and Morty with this whole scandal with Justin Roiland. So
yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, it's a little concerning what's going on with him, but the other equation, that Dan Harmon, and I know there's a lot of writers that are involved. I don't know where I came across this. I think they started doing it with this season of Rick and Morty, but they started doing like the behind the scenes type stuff, talks with like Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland and some of the writers. At least it's available on Hulu if you watch it on an on-demand capacity, where they like the same thing they do with the Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, where they hang around for like 5 minutes past the show
and talk about
the episode and why it cannot develop. I will say the funniest moment in TV this year is in Rick and Morty, in my opinion, and it is a song parody, Y'all Ready for Piss? And I fucking laughed so hard.
Yeah, that's great.
It is hilarious. So when you see it, you know it, and if you just got that reference, you're laughing right now too.
Also, check out the video game that he's involved with. Justin Roiland's involved with.
Oh, really? What's that?
Oh,
yeah, it's good.
It's good. Hilarious. High on Life is what it's called. Yeah, you should definitely.
Wow, that's totally off my radar.
You should. Yes, you should YouTube some clips from that game. It's pretty hilarious.
Is it out for like multiple platforms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's out for Xbox, PCs. I think it's on PlayStation too.
PS5. Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Well, guys, next episode we're going to be again on the live stream. It's going to have to be TBA on the date for sure. That's going to be our wrestling recap of 2022. We're going to have the babyface Jake Jackson back on the show.
The babyface.
To hit up that. We're going to talk about our favorite feuds, favorite wrestlers of the year. R.I.P. Jay Briscoe, by the way. Sad news just came out today. He passed away in a tragic car accident with his daughters, and his daughters were last I heard, at least one of them was in emergency surgery, and they were in critical condition. So, but yeah, we're going to be recapping the year in wrestling 2022, and then kind of do a little bit of a Royal Rumble preview with the babyface Jake Jackson. And then we're going to close out on February 2nd. Our last episode of the season, episode 52, is going to drop, and it is the 2010 pilot of the All Things Insane podcast, the opening segment, as well as our second segment that we transition into about some local news stories that are very funny and timeless, in my opinion. And some excerpts from another show that I did talking about inspirations for the show. So it's going to be kind of a peel back the curtain, inspiration specific about the show, kind of what our motivations for formulating the show and the agenda were at that time and at this time, and a lot of crossover too. So I think it'll be a good listen, strong listen as well. So the season 2 programming I keep talking about, we haven't announced dates and stuff for. I do have guests lined up, as I mentioned, and I don't mean to sound like too cryptic or anything. I'm going to be a little bit more forthcoming on this episode. I personally just found out that I have 3 slip discs in my back, degenerative bone disease, as well as a nerve impingement of some sort, and several malignant tumors on my spine. And I'm actually going to the doctor to find out what the game plan is with that. So I don't want people to be beholden to me for dates if I end up having to have surgery and things like that. So that's why I've been kind of this is to be announced and that's
Right.
to be announced. So I should know more here in the next 24 hours. And if things are looking promising, we'll start publishing those dates ahead like we normally do. We try to do 4 to 6 weeks out in advance. So typically, so you guys know what we have coming on the show and kind of tune in for what you're interested in, or perhaps be excited and check out beforehand, who we might be having on the show and why. We like to bring that variety, like we said before. And I know one thing that Josh and I and Ridge in particular talked about is we want to lean into more of the conspiracies piece of the Cults, Killies, and Conspiracy series that we do, the mini-series that we do throughout the show. We haven't tackled in season 1. We didn't manage to tackle any conspiracies, but we've got a good initial conspiracy that we're going to hit up for sure. And that is Bohemian Grove.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Look forward to that episode.
Well, this would be the right time to bring up too. We are starting a GoFundMe for Barrett to be turned into the Bionic Man.
Yeah.
We will rip out each and every single one of his bones of his body, and they will be replaced by retractable licorice.
You'd be like the new
It
Pickle
is-
Rick,
Well, that
baby.
might work because I don't like licorice, so I wouldn't be tempted to eat it.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a snack for many of the fellow animals around your area, being in the backwoods. But that has currently 50 cents in it from me. Too. So
Okay.
There
Thank
we
you
go.
for the donation. It's the thought that matters, not the amount, for sure. So, hey, for this week, we're signing off. I'm Barry Insane on Instagram and Twitter. He's Josh_Joshua Welch on IG. This is old Mr. Knob Nard, Tom Tickle, Brandon Stewart. He's got Edaw's Imperious Emporium.
Go check it out,
his
guys.
Awesome work.
Yes.
His awesome figures that he's been doing, particularly as of recent.
Yes.
Brandon has been nailing it. And
Thanks, Jeff.
if you guys need some type of custom work, diorama, some collaboration, and
bone structure work.
Yeah, bone
I'm-
structure work for sure.
I'm currently building Barrett's. So
There's one thing I want to lead into that I know that Brandon hasn't had much of an opportunity to date with, and that is I was in a band, Mire Giants, the last album that we put out, Integrate and Date. If you ever saw that album artwork, that was actually a clay model statue of a figurine that Jake, our lead singer, had made and took some pictures. So essentially, it's kind of similar things that Brandon's doing. He's making custom figures, dioramas, implementing that. He has the tools necessary to do it, 3D printing. If you're a band out there and you're not really sure what you want to do with your album artwork, you want to do something new or creative or push your creative boundaries, hit up Brandon, collaborate with Brandon.
hit me up.
Brandon is coming up with some good, solid, original concepts as well that he's A, just done as fun, B, put in a shop, or C, done for others. So do not sleep on what Brandon's got going on over there on Edaw's Emperious Emporium. We're always tagging him and sharing his shit, so you can't miss it on the ATI podcast. So I will bid you all adieu. Good night and good luck.
Stay safe out there.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at ATIPodcastQuestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.